Hello, our favorite humans. Welcome to another episode of Bronx Tales with your host, Bronxy B, and me. I'm Logan. Thank you for being here. As we all know, we have heard now about the ruling from Judge Hippler. Obviously, we have, one more week that's pushed back the trial. So the trial will now start on August 18th. So it gives Ann Taylor 7 more days at least. The thing that bothers me, though, is when Judge Hippler said DNA is DNA every day of the week and twice on Sunday, I knew right then that he was biased. He literally thinks that the end-all be-all in this case is the white car. He literally denied the alternative perps because he said they didn't drive a white car. Honey, you don't have to drive any car to be the perp. Just because the time was around the time that the murders happened and the time of the car coming or going was close to the same time does not necessarily mean that that car is involved in any way, shape, or form. It could have been an Uber, could have been a DoorDash, it could have been a drunk college student, a person high on meth that was DoorDashing, it could have been literally anybody. That doesn't necessarily mean it has to be tied to this crime. And I think that he is not open-minded enough. And I expected more from a judge. And I'm really disappointed that I think that I've said this before. I think that he is not open-minded enough and he's very biased. And I do think that that will cause problems in the arguments of this trial and will eventually lead to Bryan Kohberger being found guilty. I think that Judge Hippler will allow objections from the prosecution and deny the objections from the defense. I think that it's really going to show during the trial what he allows in and what he doesn't. And it's disappointing. I thought that finally we might have a fair trial, and it's been very, very clear and getting clearer that we don't have a chance at a fair trial here. And it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. This could be any one of us. I want to talk about William Cephas being subpoenaed. So that was Bryan Kohberger's first prison guard when he was first arrested. And I'm interested to see what his testimony will be. Many people have a theory that Bryan Kohberger was relapsing and into drugs again. And maybe he was connected to this house or even Molly McMichaels and her people because of a drug connection. And I actually disagree, and I'm going to tell you why. In this picture, I don't know if the picture on the left-hand side is when he was actively using, but I think I can say that the picture on the right, he hasn't been using. And the reason I say that is you can see the difference in skin tone. A lot of people that are using H have very dulled out skin, dark eyes, pupils might be larger than normal. And when he went to jail, if he was using, he would have been very, very sick. He would now at this point, 2.5 years later, he would look different than when he first was arrested, right? Most people, I don't know if any of you have seen episodes of Intervention, when they show the last shot of the person who got help and remained clean, they don't look anything like they did in the beginning. And I don't think that Bryan Kohberger has changed enough for me to say that he was using and has gone through withdrawal in jail and is now clean by going to jail. I don't think that he was using because he hasn't changed enough. There isn't a weight difference, whether he gained or lost since he's been in jail. There isn't a difference in color in his face or his lips. He hasn't seemed to change much for me. And that's why I say I don't think he was using. I don't think he's gone through that sickness of getting clean. I think it would have been noticeable to us from the beginning pictures to now where we're at. It would have been a noticeable difference. So with that being said, I'm very interested in what William C. Foss has to say to see if I'm right on that. He would definitely know. He would definitely be able to tell and know if Bryan Kohberger was going through any sort of withdrawal in jail when he was first arrested. So I'm super interested in that testimony. I've heard from so many people, if I was Bryan Kohberger and I was innocent, why isn't he screaming it from the rooftops and telling everybody he can? Why isn't he standing up in court and saying, I didn't do this? And to that I say, first of all, when you're in jail, you are directed to not speak about your case at all to anybody ever. You are to remain silent when it comes to your own case. And another rule in jail is to not ask anybody else about their case either. Because things happen in jail, such as, let's say Bryan Kohberger is talking to somebody else at lunch, and somebody says, hey, what are you in here for? And as he starts to explain the IDAHO4 murders, somebody walks by with their tray and just overhears IDAHO4 murders. They can now go tell somebody that they overheard Bryan Kohberger talking about the IDAHO4 murders, and they will get a lesser sentence. People try this all the time. They think they'll get a lesser sentence, and they actually might if they get on the stand and say, yup, I heard Bryan Kohberger talking about the IDAHO4 murders. It doesn't necessarily mean that he was saying he was there and did it, but just having a jury hear somebody say, yep, Bryan Kohberger was talking about the IDAHO4 murders, that could be perceived as he was talking about the IDAHO4 murders as if he was there and did it. And I think that's part of the reason. Also in court, it is very strict for the defendant to keep their mouth shut. You don't speak on anything ever. My problem I have with certain people is I want to know why the roommates haven't said anything. Why have the roommates not stood up and said anything at all? They haven't defended themselves. They've completely gone into hiding. Because let me tell you, especially when Bryan Kohberger was arrested, and most people think that that's the guy who did it. They finally arrested the guy who did it. And if those were my 4 friends and people that I lived with, and I had nothing to do with that crime, and they finally arrested this incel weirdo that broke into my home and walked right past me and killed all of my friends, I would be screaming from the rooftop what happened and what he did, and they finally caught him, and how happy I am, and now I can come out of hiding because nobody is looking for me. But that didn't happen. And that's what draws my attention to them. Because if anybody's going to stand up and say something, I would think it would be them defending their victim friends. So I know as much as people expect it from Bryan Kohberger to stand up and say, I'm innocent, I find it strange that the roommates haven't stood up to say anything and in fact have done the opposite and completely gone into hiding. That's what I think is strange. Another thing I wanted to touch on really quick is I didn't come out at all with an opinion on Bryan Kohberger's friend, William or Chris or whatever his name is. Number one, I didn't come out because I didn't think it was my place to say anything on it. I figured it would pass over pretty quickly. The whole drama with, him saying that he's Bryan Kohberger's friend. Some people didn't believe him and was trying to vet him and couldn't. Maybe they were looking in the right place or wrong place. I don't know. I don't know Bryan Kohberger or William Chris from a can of paint. I cannot say if they're friends or not. I'm the type of person that for me to gain an opinion on something, I have to know as much information as possible from both sides. And I didn't get that. And also, William or Chris doesn't owe that to anybody either. So I just felt like it wasn't my place to say anything. I really don't care either way. It doesn't make a difference either way if he's friends with him or not. I think maybe at some point they knew each other, and I think it was because they used together or saw the same dealer. And if he would have just said that, he would have been more credible. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. I don't know. I wasn't there, nor do I really give a shit. And that's why I didn't say anything. I just didn't have enough information to really give an opinion. With that being said, I just want to say that I absolutely love the group we have over here on this channel, especially in the comments. There are several people that agree with what I say or even have great input of things that I didn't think of. But I also love the fact that there are people that disagree and can come over here and be so mature, kind, respectful, and say their points, and everybody is just kind to each other. There is no reason for us as adults to disagree with somebody and turn around and call them names or be unkind to them. It's not necessary. Great conversations stem from differences in opinion, and I love the little group we have over here so far, because we can disagree and still be kind to each other. That's how it should be. So with this Chris William saying something mean about Jules because Jules was trying to vet him and she couldn't, I think was uncalled for. And that's why I say that. I think we've all had somebody say something about us that wasn't true. And some people want to fight that and defend themselves. I'm one of the types of person that I don't need to defend myself against somebody saying something bad about me. If you think so poorly of me, please stay away from me. I don't need to defend myself. I want you to think that because that tells me what I need to know about you, right? So either way, it wasn't my opinion to say anything. I don't care if they're friends or not. He's not being called to testify. So I don't think that he really needs to be vetted. Whoever wants to have him on their channel can have him on their channel and have good conversation, right? Because he still agrees with how we think. So it doesn't matter either way. That's my stance on it. Other than that, that's what we have for you today. I wanted to just talk about Judge Hippler. Really, I'm really disappointed in that. I thought that we had a chance at a fair trial, and slowly but surely, and now it's definitive that we're not getting a fair trial with him. He is going to continue with his biased approach and go with the prosecution. It's unfortunate. I think that Brian Koberger might have a chance at an appeal. But other than that, I've stated this before, I think he's going to be found guilty, unfortunately. I think that there aren't enough open-minded people out there, and I don't think they're going to get it in a jury of 13 to 15 people either. I think it takes a special person to not form an opinion until they've heard every possible thing from both sides. And if that means that Ann Taylor needs to tell them about alternate perpetrators, I think it should be allowed. I think jurors should get a chance to hear every single thing from both sides. I think, yes, you have to have proof of an alternate perpetrator, but I don't think that would be hard to find. I mean, just test all the DNAs, right? That might give us a clean answer. I don't know. I could go on and on about it, but that's it. That's what we have for you today. We just wanted to say hi and tell you to do something nice for yourself today. Be kind, but more importantly, be kind to your dog. Bye, guys.